on, guys? This is Dan Wynn.
And Mike Glaspie.
Today, we're going to talk about the life-changing event, the thing that changed our minds and what started us on this entrepreneurship journey. So with that said, Mike, you want to start it off?
Yeah, absolutely. So, every time in life, everybody has that one event that's just like, all right, that's it. I'm done doing it. Some people it may be a dark event. Some of it might be maybe like the birth of a child and things like that. For me, it was an emotional roller coaster through the military. So I made up my mind. I want to do the military. I went through Special Forces selection. And during that time, I actually had lost my best friend. He had passed away. Not only did I miss his death, but I also missed his funeral. And I had no idea because I was locked away. I was consolidated out there with no reach, no phones, no mails, no things like that. So at the time, although it was very painful, I decided I was going to dedicate myself to an excellent career in the military in his honor, right? That's what I told myself. Well, what I found out over the next couple of years is that you're going to consistently find times where you're alone, times where you have your friends, but you're still alone. You're separated from family. And you really have to have a strong emotional foundation. So we all know that it's the needs of the military, right? Because they're going to worry about the many, not the few. So there was a point in time in my career, I was doing well. I was excelling in many different schools, programs, opportunities, special assignments, and things of that nature. And I went to my first school that I failed, dive school. Full disclosure, failed it, bad, right? And I failed it multiple times, but during that time, we were still going on deployments, coming back, doing this, other special assignments. And I was already having some issues with some other deaths that just happened recently, some colleagues, family and things of that nature. Well, I was set down and I was told that if I do not pass this course, the dive course, that I would not accelerate any further in my military career. I wouldn't go to any other schools. I wouldn't get any other special assignments, anything. And ultimately, just for transparency here, the dive course itself has no direct relation to your progress in your military career in the grand scheme of things, right? Because just like if I say, hey man, you're not going to air assault, that doesn't mean that you can't pin major, go to lieutenant. That doesn't mean anything, right? So for me, I sat down and I was like, okay, so now I'm going to be reprimanded, and my career could literally be in jeopardy if I don't pass this one course. So it took a long time to reflect it, and I finally understood that my military career is not in my own hands. So I needed to have something that I could have control over. So what I did at that point is I always knew I had an entrepreneurial spirit. So I started researching, reading books. I joined MLMs. I went to small meetups, real estate meetups, and all these other things. And I finally landed on real estate as a means, to freedom. And what I had not realized until that time was I was already investing. So I had bought my home using the VA loan, and I was renting out a room, right? I had a roommate, and I was house hacking. Exactly. And I had no idea, but once it finally clicked, like, oh, there's more ways than just, spending $100,000 on real estate. I am a real estate investor now. That completely changed the game for me, man. And I've been investing ever since, just diving in.
Dude, that's an awesome story. That's an awesome story. So the one change for you was realizing that you didn't have control over your future, essentially.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely.
Yeah. My story is very, very, very similar in that that's kind of what started for me. Once I understood that I don't really have control over what I wanted to do, then I had to basically do something. Same thing. However, mine went a little bit differently. So I knew that I wanted to invest in real estate for a while after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad back in college, basically, or when I had dropped out of college or whatever. But I knew I wanted to do real estate. However, I went through, it took a long time for me to actually get my first true investment. So I bought my first house when I got to my first duty station, and I put some of those things. I knew that I need to buy a little undervalued, buy something with equity, something I can put a little bit of money into it. However, I didn't plan on really buying my first actual unit, my first true unit, until later on in my career. But then the catalyst, if you will, kind of happened. I had my second child, and essentially I was doing a lot of things that I didn't really, I was working for people I didn't really, necessarily agree with, get along with very, very well. And also, and I'm sure everybody has those stories of, working with people they don't agree with, or working with people they don't get along with. And that mixed with being away for a long time, I actually went to NTC, went to a national training center rotation. It's like a 1 month long thing in preparation for a deployment. So I went to NTC, and while at NTC, I couldn't contact, my family. I had a brand new newborn child. I didn't get to really, hang out with him. And I really started to do a lot of reflecting there, because I had a lot of alone time at night, I guess, if you will. So like while I would bed down, there's no real distractions, just me and the stars, unless we got attacked or something like that. But for the most part, there was some downtime, at least for my job, there was some downtime there, especially when we're going through the beginning phases and the ending phases of when we weren't in the box, if you will, when we weren't actually doing the exercise. So during that time, I did a lot of reflecting, and I just really, really got a fire in me, like, hey man, I really want to be at home. I really want to be kind of hanging out with my family. I really want to be able to see some of those first things that my child is doing. I got to see them with my first child, but I didn't get to see it with my second child. So, and I knew that I would be going on I'd be going away for longer periods of time following this exercise, or at least at that time I thought I would. And yeah, just not being able to be around the family, and having to deal with people I didn't get along with, that kind of sparked that fire, like really, really ignited that fire to push me into my first deal. And while I was at NTC, I actually created my LLC. Like during the out processing portion of the RSOI portion of NTC is when I literally created my LLC. Like when I got my phone back on my phone, like calling banks, hey, I'm, a SEP account, because I wasn't sure at that time whether I wanted to do this for 20 years or whether I wanted to retire from the military, which was kind of my original plan. I wanted to originally retire and then go off and create businesses and do what I wanted to do. But I realized during that time, really through a series of phone calls, that I could do them at the same exact time. I can have a successful military career, and then also be building and replacing my income while going through that career. And that was a big change for me, creating that LLC and acquiring my first property a couple months after coming back from an NTC rotation. That pretty much set it off for me. But yeah.
Excellent, man. Yeah, it's something about everybody says like you could always try to deliver a message, but until that individual is ready to receive it, it doesn't really mean anything. And there's so many times in life where we may be trying to talk to family members or friends or colleagues and say, man, you got to start thinking about your future. You got to start doing that. But it's not truly until that catalyst actually comes into play. And I think we're both very lucky that happened to us in whatever form that it did happen, but it happened early enough where we got that light bulb switched on. So now we're taking control. Now we're driving the bus, right? And so now there's literally nothing stopping us. And we know this, there's nothing stopping us but ourselves.
Yeah, and you're 100% right, because there's a lot of people that have like 9-to-5 jobs, not just necessarily military, that have 9-to-5 jobs, and they don't realize this. They don't realize that key point, that you can do both, and you can take control of your life while right now. You can start right now, and you can start educating yourself right now. You can start, acquiring properties right now. People have done this before, and you don't have to necessarily, follow that same traditional mindset of working until you're 65 to create a pension and then trying to invest and live a good life, or invest all of your money into 401k IRAs or things like that. So if there was one point that we can stress across with just this, this episode was about catalysts and kind of the life-changing event for us. But you don't necessarily have to have a life-changing event. You just need to be exposed to the fact that you can do this in the position that you're at. I mean, of course you got to be mentally ready, but whoever, if you're listening to this right now, and I know you likely have a job, even if you don't, you can start right now. Like right now is the time to take action and start building towards your future. So
Do it. Like Starsky and Hutch.
all right, do it. All right, like that was a Shia LaBeouf is like, do it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's a quick episode. With that, this is Dan Wynn
and Mike Glaspie
signing off.